Okay, well, we are going to talk today, the mindfulness broadcast, about boundaries um, for a couple reasons. One, because it's a time of year where we can start to really live into those about time off, about how we honor or celebrate which holidays, and with family and friends and all of these things. Boundaries and mindfulness, really, they are hand in hand. Mindfulness helps us live into boundaries, and it helps us because it helps us be aware of when our boundaries have been pushed, or maybe the awareness, the self-awareness that we have gotten a little more flexible on what feels okay for us or not. The self-awareness that maybe this boundary that we've been holding isn't necessary anymore because of who we are or life changes, what it feels like in our body when we are having our boundaries pushed or when we're pushing other people's boundaries, identifying an emotion that's attached to that, and then self-regulating so that you can respond versus react out of anxiety or fear or anger or whatever it is. There was a quote I heard the other day. I shared it in the leadership class that I taught on Wednesday at the Working Together conference. It was so wonderful. I got to see some of you there, and it was really great. I shared a quote that I had heard from Seth Godin. For those of you who know his work, he is a kind of a business specialist, and he's very active. He writes a daily blog, and he's got a podcast, and he's got 18 books, and I listen to him occasionally. And anyway, he was sharing this phrase that I really loved, and then wrapped it up in this concept, which is big problems usually, that's my interpretation, usually require small solutions. Big problems usually require small solutions. And he went on to talk about this. He was talking about it through the lens of business and leadership. But for me, I started thinking about it through the lens of boundaries. And he said, rarely is our big problem an asteroid, right? Rarely is it like, oh my gosh, everything has changed and I need to put some stronger boundaries in place, unless it's like March 2020. And then there's a big asteroid, right? And suddenly everything has to change. What he was sharing is that more often, and it certainly resonated with me, is that our big problems are a result of slow erosion that we have maybe not tended to. I want you to just think about that and how that relates to boundaries, and how we might hear somebody say something or see somebody do something or notice action wasn't taken, maybe by a colleague or a friend or family or neighbor. And we just go, well, I'm not going to say anything, or I'll just let that slide, or make an excuse for them. Well, that must be because they're overworked or tired, or certainly they didn't mean that. I must have done something to elicit that, right? We start to allow our boundaries to be pushed a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. And that slow erosion begins to happen until suddenly it is a really big problem. Maybe the culture has shifted, your team dynamics have shifted, the relationship, maybe the trust is gone, or you are at a place where it's a big response now. And I really loved that visual, that idea, that metaphor of it. And I, again, could certainly relate in my life. And so we come back to revisit, how do we maintain healthy boundaries? And how do we know that they're being pushed? And really using our mindfulness practice to observe ourselves, to be curious about what's happening, to notice, boy, that feels bad that just happened. I'd really like to address it. And I also feel very anxious, right? So now the work can begin to happen to say, what does support look like for myself? How would I prepare for this conversation? What might I say in this conversation with this person? How do I support myself in living into maintaining this boundary? Because setting that boundary is our job, and maintaining that boundary is our job. So, with that, I hope that that speaks to you. It certainly has been just landing with me in a lot of different needed places. We're going to use our practice this morning to really just observe ourselves and to feel and to build that self-aware muscle so that we can be with ourselves in setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. So with that, let's close our eyes. You can also just take a soft gaze. You can sit. You can stand. You can even lie down, whatever is appropriate for you and for your environment. Just be with yourself for a moment. Notice what's calling your attention. A busy mind, a relaxed mind, irritation in your body somewhere, an emotion. Just notice you right now. And then meeting yourself wherever you are, begin to get into your breath, feeling it in and out. We're not changing anything right now. We're just observing, going inward. You might even say something like, "Oh, hi, breath. I've been breathing all morning, but I've been so busy and distracted, at least for me. I haven't really been with my breath at all." And if you can, go a little deeper, feeling your heartbeat. You might even put your hand to your chest if you want to, or find your pulse in your wrist, in your neck. And just feel this process of being alive. In this amazing biology and physiology that's there doing its work. While our brain is often not in this moment, it's in the past, it's in the future, it's in the story. So, what we're doing is just joining this very busy brain of ours with our physical, present moment existence, breath, heartbeat. And this will be the basis of our practice this morning, is continuing to try to find that alignment. Breath, brain, heartbeat. And just staying with those things. You might notice that as your brain gets distracted and thinking about things that happened or things that need to happen, when you do catch that and come back to your breath and your heartbeat, you might notice a shift. Your breath might be more shallow in the upper regions of your chest. You might notice your heartbeat is beating faster. This brain of ours causes physiological responses and even biological responses. So the more we stay in story about people pushing our boundaries or why that's okay or what they should have done, could have done, what you should have done, could have done, what we're doing is introducing a lot of stress into our body over something that we really, it's done. The boundary has been pushed. So what we're doing instead is noticing, okay, this is my physiological response to that. I'm going to ground myself. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to come back into my brain and my breath and my heartbeat. And I'm going to get curious. I'm going to move to my prefrontal cortex. I'm going to say, what does maintaining a healthy boundary look like? What would support look like right now? If I had the confidence to address this, what would I say? What would I do? Living into my values, how do I want to be with this experience? The strength of being able to be mindful and present. Go quiet for a little while and let your brain do its thing. And allow you to kind of do some brain exercises, if you will. Noticing when your brain has wandered, coming back to your breath and your heartbeat. And loving yourself the entire way. Noticing if your mind has wandered and bringing it back. Building our ability to do this. Strengthening our neural pathways. Breath, brain, heartbeat. We're going to close this practice. Take anything from it that you want to be with you, kind of tuck it away in your heart as you move throughout the rest of your day. When you're ready, slowly bringing your gaze back up or opening your eyes. Thanks for being here, everyone. We'll see you next Friday at the Mindfulness broadcast. Be well. Bye.